All right. Hey, everybody. Thought I would do a video today. I had a couple minutes. The kids are outside, um, so it's quiet enough for me to actually do this right now. I thought I would tackle a kind of a quicker, easier question. My next video, I'll probably go back to COVID-19 and kind of where we are on that and updates and kind of things moving forward and why we're moving forward and that kind of thing. But for right now, I kind of want to do a more whimsical one, um, less less import, I guess. And that is, why do we forget stuff when we walk into another room? Get up from watching TV or reading a book or whatever you're doing, you go into another room to do something, and you get there and you don't remember what it is. This has happened to all of us. Happens to some people more than others, but pretty much everyone has experienced that. Where you get to where you were going and you can't remember why you got there. Sometimes you have to go back into the other room, sit back down where you were, and then you remember what you were doing. So what's going on with that? Well, it's actually pretty interesting. This is a real effect. It's not just in our heads. Like there's been several studies about this, um, and what I found in these studies in psychology, there's what's called the event horizon model. And what this theory says is that your brain doesn't remember things continuously because the kind of memory you need, um, just to kind of operate day to day, not things that you need to remember for a long term, but things that you just need to remember for right now, um, is kind of expensive neurologically. It takes a lot of brain energy to keep that going because there's a lot. I mean, you look around the room, I got a map, I got plants, and my brain's trying to remember all of these things all at once. It doesn't really want to put those in like the hard drive of my brain. I don't want to use up that space. So it's just kind of this memory they called activation-based memory, um, that essentially just kind of operates on the surface. It doesn't make any lasting changes to your brain. An illustration of this is, let me see if I can pull this up here. For example, if I were to show you a picture, so you see this picture. This is a picture I took this morning of a flower that I have in my yard. We're going to look at that for a second. Now, if I were to ask you right now to describe that flower to me and that picture to me, you could likely do so with a fair amount of detail. Um, you would likely be able to remember the color. You would likely remember the structure. You would remember what was in the background, how the lighting was. However, now that I've just been talking for several seconds, if I were to ask you to describe that photo, you likely would do a much worse job. 30 seconds from now, you likely wouldn't remember much about it other than it was a flower. A minute or two from now, you may not remember anything about it at all. You may remember some things, probably it's a flower, you probably wouldn't remember the color anymore. Your brain at that point is just kind of making things up. So we have this event horizon model, which says activation-based memory is a surface memory, and it only operates as long as it is being activated by the stimuli. Okay? So, because our brain does that, when does it know when to stop activating? Right? At what point does it stop activating? Well, what they discovered, and they actually did a study with college students, and they had them pick up two objects and put them in these little boxes, and then they had to carry them, um, to one of two equidistant locations. Okay, one of them walked through a doorway and put it down. The other one just walked across the room and put it down, same distance away from where they started. And then they had to remember what was in the two boxes. So, interestingly, if you walk through a doorway, you forget. Whereas if you walk the same distance, you tended to forget much less often. So what's happening is we're standing up from what we're doing. Our brain has all these activation memory processes going on. We walk through a doorway. Our brain says, oh, that was the event horizon. We have now left the situation that we were in. We're now moving into a new situation. It wipes the hard drive and it starts a new one. And so you get into the other room and you don't know what's going on. You can't remember why you're there. And that's because the way that one researcher described it, it's like an editor cutting the tape, right? and you just lost that blip, right? Because we ended scene, we started a new scene, and the brain lost something there. That it didn't, that based on experience, your brain's going, none of this stuff is going to matter once this event ends, and erroneously decides that the event ended once you walk through a door. Now, there's kind of a trick that you can do to beat this. It happens to me, the most frequent is when I park my car. I park my car and then I go into the store and I come out and I can't remember what aisle I'm on. Or I park it in an underground parking and I come back out and I don't remember what spot it's in. It used to happen to me a lot more. It happens to me less now because I learned a memory trick to beat this. What that is, for example, when I park my car, I make a conscious effort to pay attention to where my car was parked. So instead of just parking my car and walking in and assuming I'll remember, I won't, because I just walked through a doorway and my brain is going to forget everything that just happened just previously that it didn't think was important. So rather than that, I get out of my car, I look at what's next to my car, and I say to myself in my brain, I am parked next to the shopping cart corral. I look at the building and I say, and I'm just to the left of the W on the Walmart sign. And then I go in. And when I come out, I can recall that, right? Because I forced my brain to bring that into what's called a weight-based memory, which is of almost infinite capacity and almost infinite length. You don't really forget things in your weight-based memory. You can retain that for a long time. But you have to make sure that it gets into your weight-based memory. So if you're sitting on the couch and you get up to do something, you can say it out loud. You can say, I need to get up to go change the laundry. And then you walk in and change the laundry, you will probably remember that because you force it into your weight-based memory. But if you just get up and walk in there and you just are relying on that surface brain, chances are by the time you get into the laundry room, you're not going to remember why you're there until something triggers that stimulus again. So that is why we forget things when we walk through doorways. Our brain treats a doorway as an event horizon, cuts the tape, and starts over. If you haven't forced it into your weight-based memory or your longer-term memory, you're not going to remember it. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed.